lot of things around that, the financial space, fintech as well. So for me, I'm going to be asking you this question. We know one of the biggest challenges in technology in Africa is lack of funds. So you want to build sophisticated technology and you want to maintain them, it requires funding, right? We see that the government in Africa, across many African countries over the years has, been overwhelmed by the burden of, funding technology. But we know that the government cannot even do this alone, right? Even if they were to. So how then can we ensure sustainable funding of the growth and development of technology in Africa?
That's a very interesting question. I think in the end it boils down to priorities. What is your priority, and as the public sector, your priority is to create an enabling environment with social development and economic prosperity, and it means looking at the things that can help you get there. And as we all know, technology is an enabler, and if technology is an enabler, then I think it is responsibility of government of the leadership to realize that how do we leverage technology to scale education, to scale food production, to scale security as well, because technology enables you to do all these things. So you must put it at top of the priority. And when you think about how much am I going to spend on defense or security, or how much am I going to spend on technology, because technology will enable security, it will enable education, it will reduce the cost and allow you to scale, increase transparency, and also increase innovation in which your private sector will actually come in. And even and that's at the government level. But at the business level as well, it is, we all have stakeholders. And for us, it is prioritizing what we need to spend on, right? I need to spend on my value chain. My value chain is people who are paying me cash instead of electronic money. How do I invest resources in education to do that? So what I'm saying now is like there needs to be a paradigm shift in all segments, right? I'm even right down to the individual to say, I have to invest in yourself. There will always be limited resources. And so it is up to the leadership to say, okay, where do we want to go to? How do we want to go? What's the best way, right, to scale resources, to provide social benefits to those who don't have, to include people, right, and to enable electronic, and that is technology. I think technology is the key. What do we need to invest in, and what do we need to sacrifice? And so if we need to reduce the size of government, if we need to, reduce what we give to defenses, because really and truly, the war is no longer outside, it's actually inside. We are a very young population, and if people going to school, they go to school, they come out of school.
Examples, not just in Africa, but all over the world, especially recently.
Senate Minority Leader, Senator Hinaya Barbe, thank you so much for talking to us on China's television.
Thank you.
Let's begin the conversation around national security. But let's get your view, because the Senate at some point, you had a summit on security. The House of Representatives also had a summit on national security. From your own point of view, what are you hearing, or what do you know? What can you tell Nigerians that is the major problem of insecurity in Nigeria?
If there's any issue that the National Assembly has continually discussed and analyzed and spoken about, is the issue of security.
South Africa. DST and NRF Research Chair in Innovation Studies at the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, Sewanee University of Technology, as rated research professor and fellow of the South Africa Academy of Sciences, the African Academy of Sciences, and the African Science Institute. He is a senior research associate fellow at the TMD Center of the Oxford University and the Africa Center of Excellence at Data Science at the University of Rwanda. As a co-founding member of the Nanotechnology Institute of Sewanee University of Technology, founder, chief editor of the African Journal on Science, Technology, Innovation and Development. Still on this panel is Kamal Kardit, founder and CEO MTech, founder and CEO of MTech in New York-based fintech, helping central banks around the world adopt modern technologies to provide financial inclusion by design and develop resilient financial market infrastructure and financial service innovator. There's a 10-year at the IBM in corporate finance and treasury and software business development attached to that name. He's also a public speaker and mentor to women entrepreneurs. We also have Mr. Christopher Kersey, CEO of Mara Phones, leadership positions in multinational technology companies, including Nokia, BlackBerry, Samsung, and Lenovo. Focus on expanding the business of Mara Phones and Mara Pride around the world. Still on this panel is Uzoma Dozie, Managing Director, Sparkle Nigeria, an experienced financial advisor, economist, technologist, and entrepreneur. He is the last group managing director of Diamond Bank before the merger in Nigeria and runs a Lagos-based angel investment and mentorship platform. Black Knight has been named at the heart of Nigeria's tech startup ecosystem, founding the Tech First event in 2018, connecting industry giants to new markets and providing access to market opportunities for small businesses. He's curated and hosted tech-focused TV shows, Tech Talks, where he interviews Nigeria's leading entrepreneurs and digital pioneers. And now, our moderator, Ifeanyi Ndionwensi, who is the Chief Operating Officer, TechPoint Africa, is the COO of TechPoint Africa, a pioneering tech digital company, amplifying the best innovation out of Africa through its publication, data, and events. He's a key part of the Nigeria tech space, writing and contributing to its development. Wow, so many good things said. We can't wait to see what you bring on board. Mr. Moderator, I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. So I will just be going into the first question of the day. And I hope my panelists can hear me. So I will be directing my first question to Mozambique. So, can you just quickly tell us? We know technology itself has brought a lot of change in Africa, and we can see that of acceptance. But can be done to educate Africans, especially those in the rural areas, about technology.
I love to sing. La 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 la.
Goes to you. We read a lot about technology and how it's changing, Africa basically. But can you tell us a little bit about how technology can educate Africans, especially those around the rural areas?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Well, it's simple. I mean, the two use cases that comes to mind. I mean, the first one is when I was in Diamond Bank and we wanted to take banking to market women. And for us to do that, they were already doing their informal finances, but in terms of consistency, we thought that there was a better way of taking banking to them, but they didn't have the time to or understood or banking was inaccessible for many factors. And basically, for us to do that, we couldn't just go there into the marketplace like strangers and say, this is the best solution for you. We had to find, leadership in the marketplace. And that those leadership in the marketplace, let's call them advocates. And people that they were comfortable with, and people that actually understood the opportunity of technology. And then we had to take a three-step approach. In one, educating the advocate as to how this transformative way that it will help them save, it will help them actually get much better, right? And then they actually also them hand holding us and taking them to the marketplace and showing them what the benefit would be. That was one way to do it. It's a longer way, but once you get engagement, it is very sticky, and it actually spreads like wildfire. People actually advocate for that process. That was one. And the second one is going to be, extreme situations like COVID and the lockdown. In fact, more particularly the lockdown. I mean, and that is where you move from. I mean, like the three-stage. I like to think that there are three-stage approach to being digital. One is awareness. Raising awareness. People know about digital or about technology. And a lot of people are aware, and not many. The ones that are aware, just okay, I know about it, but they're stuck away. Then you have the next stage, which is appreciation. They've seen what digital can do, how it can cut costs, how it can create more transparency, how it can actually allow you to scale and come up with new products and solutions. That only happened because you had a lockdown, so people were actually forced to change. And then after that is the adoption. Adoption now actually increases, and that's because people have seen, first of all, you need multiple channels of operation of access to your customers, multiple channels of access to your supplier, and the only way to do that is at least adopting technology. If you want to receive money from loved ones abroad, during the lockdown, there was no opportunity to move cash from urban and rural areas. So if you were one of those who only accepted cash and didn't have any mode to receive, then you were stuck. So education. So based on that, I would say you have to look at three things. You have to look at infrastructure from a different paradigm shift. So as government, infrastructure is not just about putting the digital access in place, but also equipping people with devices so they can be connected That is only one way, because the guy that can't afford to eat is not going to buy a device. But you actually need him so that you can provide him with social benefits. You can connect him, and then he can be included into society. The second one is sometimes situations help education, and and so like the lockdown was one of them. And the third, I think the one that is going to be constant is advocacy. You must find people to help handful people and educate them. So in product development, you're going to have to ensure that there's an education part, and education comes in many ways, depending on the context. If you're in the north of Nigeria, it's going to be different than the south or the west of Nigeria. So you have to be aware of the market in which you're actually trying to provide this, to leverage technology to meet objectives.
All right, thank you so much, Uzoma. That was really insightful. Creating awareness has a lot of branches, like you said. Knowing the market, knowing what the infrastructure would enable you to communicate the right message. That was really insightful. Thank you so much, very much. So I'm going to be asking Kamel Cadet my next question. So. I hope she can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, great. Yeah, I can too. All right, so now we're talking about building infrastructure, for the next digital generation, and then we'll talk about internet costs. In Africa, internet costs is extremely expensive. Only America, spend more than Africa in kind of data consumption. So what can be done to ensure that the price of internet is affordable for us in Africa?
Yes, so thank you for having me. I think the conversation around infrastructure is very important because although we look at a lot of the benefits that technology can bring, alone, the app that you have in your hand is only good as the internet connection that you have, or the access that it can bring you and how connected it is throughout the country, that you can have something that's usable, that makes life easier instead of picking up and having to go to something in person. So using technology to not only showcase the business problems and the life problems on a day-to-day basis that it can solve, that is going to drive really how do you think about the ecosystem and the value chain that is needed to support that application. And I think the investment aspect of it, although it takes a lot of headlines around the software applications and the new app and the new fintechs that we see, and everybody can download the app and really feel it, I think you're also seeing more and more people talking about their underlying infrastructure that is needed and how can we invest in that too. So you talk about data specifically, but Africa has a very interesting story around mobile technology and how and what it was able to leapfrog with mobile technology, even before data was available, right? So M-Pesa technically relied on USSD technology and telecommunication technology instead of, internet data. And that now that we're seeing with the smartphones that more and more people are getting into, but there is a lot of investment that you see in USSD technology because it can provide offline transactions. It can make things available in rural areas. That's why you see mobile money kind of really taking off as a technology. You never think of infrastructure as part of the technology stack, but it's actually pretty critical, and telecommunication networks are critical pieces of enabling technology in the future. So I think more investment, I think access when it comes to lowering the costs, the same way we see in early stages of innovation. Some resources are more expensive at the beginning and until you get really to a scale that you get adoption, that's when you can really lower the cost. So Africa, one thing that it has going for it among many things is volume, is people, it's usage, and the market opportunity that can come from usage to lower costs and how expensive that infrastructure can be. I think you're going to see that happen over the next 20 years as more use cases come to market.
All right, thank you so very much. That was quite insightful. You talked about usage towards the end, and I think that's really very important in creating a sort of like sustainability for how for how data usage, should sort of like the approach. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to be asking Mr. Chris Corsi my next question, and my next question is around, we've talked around, infrastructure, we've talked around, data challenges. So now let's go into a little bit of, how, technology companies can support companies, to make this happen. So we've seen that, the provision of support for technology companies will no doubt helping, in setting up technology infrastructure, right? But for you, what form of support should be provided for, these companies to enable this, this development? What kind of support in particular can enable this, the conversation that we're having right now?
No, definitely. Thank you for having me and for the question. And based on what Uzoma and Kamel also said, everything is about scale and building up scale around the ability for consumers to get more technology. We are a manufacturing company. We manufacture hardware in Africa. We manufacture mobile phones in Rwanda and South Africa, and we are projecting and promoting the Made in Africa concept to build this concept of not only having products made in a country for that country, but potentially for exports to other parts of the world, the US, Europe, etc. And what's happened over the past couple of years with all the situation with the trade wars between countries like China and the US, and many countries and many places around the world are looking for other types of options and other manufacturing sites. So manufacturing sites have moved from certain places in Asia to places like India, to Vietnam, and to a lot of Asia or APAC countries. What our goal is really to move that also into Africa. But to do that, the support that we do need to make this happen, and this is the support that we have gotten, is, yes, at some point from local institutions, from governments, the whole ability to trade across the African continent with the COMESA countries, and really building up a support system to help manufacture within a certain country and export to other countries. We are now making phones in Rwanda, we're now making phones in South Africa, and the only way that we've gotten here is really with the local support of the countries, of the government, of the ministry, the ability to have interactions with opportunities of making hardware and selling hardware to the education sector. What happened with, as the other people mentioned, with COVID, the education sector has exploded, tablets business has exploded. What's happened, unfortunately, is that this has given a lot of opportunities for importation of products from other countries, Asia, etc. So the support would be, if we are able, if a company is able to make sure that they can give the right type of quality, the right type of price, the right type of service, the right type of software, the right ability to service a local country and or a country surrounding, then yes, we do need a little bit of support and a little bit of a push to be able to service this type of opportunity and build up the business. So we rely on the right types of negotiations with local governments, with education sectors, supports from the banks when we are having to work on export deals to the US or to other places in the world. We cannot do this without the support of the local government / community to take a locally manufactured product, especially a technology product, and build it up. At the end of the day, in technology, the strongest technology sector in hardware is when you are strong in your own backyard. After you're strong in your own backyard, you can export to other places. So the goal is really give us the support, or give a company the support in your own backyard to make sure that you establish yourself as a strong competitor in the markets, and then that allows you also to be able to go to other markets.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will end up listening to you, and then I just understand, realize that the more realize that it's a collective effort. From policymakers to the companies, and then to to the consumers of technology programs. So as long as we understand that it's a collective effort, that support can can become really strong, and that's something that you really emphasize. Build your backyard, and then you can go anywhere. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to be asking Mr. Mamo my next question, and this is around data privacy and data colonization, right? So we've seen a lot of concerns and controversies around these areas, right? Particularly with increase in technology, right? People have suggested data center as a way to curb data breach and colonization. But in your own experience and in your own opinion, what other measures, or what are key measures that you think should be put in place to uphold data privacy, policies, in Africa particularly?
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I was expecting this was an academic, so because I joined the academic world. But let me just say a few things before answering your question. First, let's know that in the ancient time, in the ancient Egypt, when Africa was, ancient Egypt was called Africa, there was a genius of geniuses called Imhotep. You will not believe, an African, on astronomy, on medicine, on mathematics, on the sciences, on language, on calendar, on almost every sphere of knowledge. Extraordinary knowledge has been created in Africa, and that knowledge has not been, lost. Actually, it has been going on. Now, the interesting question now is that for whatever reason, Africa has lost the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, the third industrial revolution. Now, we are in what is called the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, where we have the information and communication technology. All right? Transformational technology era has come. Computational systems have come. Networks and sensors have come. Artificial intelligence have come. Robotics, biotechnologies, synthetic biology, bioinformatics, 3D printing, blockchain, human-machine interface, machines acting like humans, humans acting like machines, biomedical engineering and regenerative medicine, more computing power, speed, sensing, communication, conversation with machines, and new interhuman relations and tolerance and justice and mischief. All these things are happening now. Now you asked me an interesting question. In this time we are in now, it is very possible that this digital technology can change our agriculture. Our agriculture can become digital agriculture. On the service area, on the manufacturing industrial area, we could use it very effectively. No, there's no problem. But the interesting question now is the regulation side. In other words, how do you make sure that when you use this technology, you don't also create challenges? All right? All the problems we used to have when we do the physical activities, all right? Profits, goods, consuming, and so on. Is there any chance also when we consume digitally, we also create cyber warfare, cyber crime, many of the cyber malwarfare, all right? Many strange things can happen. Now we have to manage this now. The most interesting thing now is the governance, the regulation side of this digital management side is extremely critical and important. What you may end up doing, or people may end up doing, is again taking advantage and not being able to actually use it. Now, the interesting question now is, with this technology, Africa may still be at the bottom of the technology totem pole. It may be like that if we are not able to actually understand and use this technology to completely transform the well-being of all the people. But how we manage this is very interesting. Is there any chance now we had human governance with corruption? Is there any chance we can use internet governance to also change it? If we do that, is it possible also to manage our industry, our agriculture, all the things we do in our activities? Is there any chance that Africa should not lose the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, but the key way that it could do it is by managing, as you like to put it, the digital technology, the data, all this have to be managed very properly. If we don't do it, then we'll have a challenge. That's my initial idea for you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. That was really insightful. I like how you took us through, how, the rich history of Africa when it comes to like technology, and over time we've lost that. But I believe that, like you said, the fourth and the fifth industrial revolution will give us that opportunity to also now, climb back up to where we used to. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to come back to you, Uzoma Doze, and I know you have a lot of experience in the financial sector, and a lot of Sparkle is doing a lot of things around that, the financial space, fintech as well. So for me, I'm going to be asking you this question. We know one of the biggest challenges in technology in Africa is lack of funds. So you want to build sophisticated technology and you want to maintain them, it requires funding, right? We see that the government in Africa, across many African countries over the years has, been overwhelmed by the burden of, funding technology. But we know that the government cannot even do this alone, right? Even if they were to. So how then can we ensure sustainable funding of the growth and development of technology in Africa?
That's a very interesting question. I think in the end it boils down to priorities. What is your priority? And as the public sector, your priority is to create an enabling environment with social development and economic prosperity. And it means looking at the things that can help you get there. And as we all know, technology is an enabler. And if technology is an enabler, then I think it is responsibility of government, of the leadership, to realize that how do we leverage technology to scale education, to scale food production, to scale security as well, because technology enables you to do all these things. So you must put it at top of the priority. And when you think about how much am I going to spend on defense or security, or how much am I going to spend on technology, because technology will enable security, it will enable education, it will reduce the cost and allow you to scale, increase transparency, and also increase innovation in which your private sector will actually come in. And that's at the government level. But at the business level as well, it is, we all have stakeholders. And for us, it is prioritizing what we need to spend on, right? I need to spend on my value chain. My value chain is people who are paying me cash instead of electronic money. How do I invest resources in education to do that? So what I'm saying now is like there needs to be a paradigm shift in all segments, right? From right down to the individual. You say, I have to invest in yourself. I think the world has gone beyond just looking for people to help you. You actually need to invest in yourself, because it is very, very competitive out there now. The technology enables you to start businesses without, the competition is very, 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 very rife. So to survive, you actually need to invest in oneself. But it requires public and private sector collaboration. There will always be limited resources. And so it is up to the leadership to say, okay, where do we want to go to? How do we want to go? What's the best way, right, to scale resources, to provide social benefits to those who don't have, to include people, right, and to include electronic, and that is technology. I think technology is the key. What do we need to invest in, and what do we need to sacrifice? And so if we need to reduce the size of government, if we need to, reduce what we give to defenses, because really and truly, the war is no longer outside, it's actually inside. We are a very young population, and if people going to school, they go to school, they come out of school, there's no jobs, you will now begin to see restiveness, which is internal security.
Infrastructure, to how we can ensure that funding is available to fund, and maintain this infrastructure, and then to, how, internet can enable mass usage and then
examples, not just in Africa, but all over the world, especially recently.
If you're a creator, come join us.
Coming up on The World Today, a call for climate action as world leaders are gathered in Glasgow, Scotland for COP26. The UK prepared to take legal action against France over the ongoing dispute about post-Brexit fishing rights. Plus, local elections underway in South Africa. Thanks for joining us on the program today. I'm Tenyola Shoboale. Leaders from around the world are meeting in Glasgow, Scotland for the UN Summit on Climate Change with the hope that they make real pledges that will help save the planet. With China absent from the meeting, eyes will be turned to the United States, the world's second biggest emitter of carbon, and its big investment on climate through a key budget bill back home.
US President Joe Biden arrived in Edinburgh, Scotland, hours ago to attend the UN conference, which opens a day after G20 economies failed to commit to a 2050 target to halt net carbon emissions, a deadline widely cited as necessary to prevent the most extreme global warming. Talks in Rome had instead only recognized the key relevance of halting net emissions by or around mid-century and set no timetable for phasing out coal at home and watered down promises to cut emissions of methane, a greenhouse gas many times more powerful than carbon dioxide. Leaders committed to the Paris Agreement goal to hold the global average temperature increase well below 2 degrees Celsius and to pursue efforts to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. From today, many leaders will take to the stage in Glasgow to defend their climate change records and, in some cases, make new pledges at the start of 2 weeks of negotiations that Britain is billing as make or mar. Kicking off speeches at COP26, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the anger and the impatience of the world will be uncontainable unless leaders make the meetings in Glasgow the moment they get real about climate change. He also said the world had the technology to deactivate the ticking doomsday device, although he says everything cannot be done at once. Boris Johnson also said that while politicians talk about what they're going to do in 2050 or 2060, the average age of COP delegates is over 60, and that the children that will judge us are not yet born.
We've got some commitments
on Sunday, he warned that the world is having a 1 minute to midnight moment.
Well, this is very, very urgent for not just for our country, for the whole world. And if I had to give a comparison, I'd say it was a 1 minute to midnight moment, and the clock is ticking. We have to get everybody to do more. We've made some progress at the G20. There's no doubt about it, and we've got some commitments on net zero that perhaps went a bit further than we were even hoping for.
The Prime Minister has said he's not in favour of more coal. As host nation, the UK wants all countries to commit to net zero emissions by 2050, as well as big reductions by 2030. It also wants specific pledges on ending coal, petrol cars and protecting forests, while developing countries want to finally receive $100 billion in promised annual funds to help them adapt to rising temperatures.
The VOA's Henry Ridgewell is in London. Henry, great to see you. You know, the speeches have started at Glasgow. Any indications they are headed in a more decisive direction than the G20 over the weekend?
Well, Tenny, earlier, I'm actually in Glasgow at the summit, and just a few yards away from where the leaders are speaking. There are over 120 leaders representing their countries here at the summit, and each of them get something like 10 minutes on stage to defend their record and to possibly set out new commitments before the next leader is ushered onto the stage. And we have had some pledges in the last hour from President Biden, who spoke this afternoon. He outlined what he called the United States long-term
moment from the East African perspective.
So from the East African perspective, and this will also tie in with Africa in general, NFTs are still a new thing. So we launched the first NFT African collection at the beginning of this year, around February, and by then, actually there was very little traction in the market in terms of NFTs, and very few people understood it. But between February and now, there has been a growing community of people who are interested in knowing how NFTs work, buyers who are interested in buying the art, as well as people creating artworks and selling it. So I would say between beginning of the year to this point, the awareness was probably at 5% at the beginning of the year. But as we speak, it's at about 35 to 40% and growing. Then I can also mention a few NFT artworks. There are a few NFT projects that have launched. In East Africa specifically, there's one called the Kingdom of Ethiopia, which has become a huge hit. And we have seen the artworks fetch quite enormous prizes that were not actually projected, hence showing you that people have finally woken up to this idea and they're willing to not only enjoy but to also buy the art.
Thank you very much. Finally, before I move on to the next panelist, when you say figures, could you give us an idea, a rough idea of what some of those top figures look like?
So for example, for the Kingdom of Ethiopia, the average piece goes for around 10 Ether. Now, 1 Ether is approximately $2,500. So at 10 Ether, it means the piece sold for approximately 250,000 Kenya dollars.
US dollars. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. Fantastic numbers. Thank you very much. Let us go up north. My friend, my brother, Sultan Ahmed, welcome to this panel. I mean, we know of all the fantastic things that you and a lot of the creatives from the northern part of the continent have been doing over the last few years, particularly in the area of music. What would you say, in your opinion, is responsible for the kind of numbers that are popping in? I mean, I know, for example, that from Egypt, for example, an artist like Mohammed Ramadan is notching up numbers in the region of 80, 90 million views on YouTube and all of that. What would you say is responsible for this kind of that accelerated growth over the last couple of years in the music made in Northern Africa?
First, thank you so much for inviting me. I respect a lot of the work you've done for all those decades in Nigeria, following you and take you as an example, and welcome to all the people, great panelists. Listen, to be honest, I'm not going to talk about a formula or the development of many faces, like a Moroccan Sadin Zerad, for example, did a video, almost reached 1 billion views. And we have many local artists who are around 30, 40, 100 million views each time they release stuff, even on streaming. I think that is, you guys in Nigeria are not one, I believe, in the continent for that. You know how to create, to enhance, to reveal and to market something. Just look at what Wiz is doing right now, what Baba is doing for decades now, and what Bernabo is doing, and many people also from East Africa. What I really want to talk about is even if we have all those numbers, great deals and superstars, we still don't own nothing. That's my stuff. I mean, sovereignty. That is the key of the business. And I'm sorry if I go deep into that stuff. For example, what I'm doing right now in Morocco with some officials and even artists, I encourage them to think and to understand that artworks, catalogs, and rights are our assets. And number two, those assets gotta be considered as an extension of our sovereignty. And then number three, all those assets and sovereignty can be used as an element of power for our culture. And then after that, that's the concepts. And then after that, you have all the domestic policies that we as Moroccan get to do in our country, and you as Nigerians. So each one of us can clean the house to invite guests, to invite investors. And I don't know if you get the key. If you understand what I'm talking about, for example, I'm talking about the private copy model, the private copy tax, the public performance or diffusion tax. I don't want to call it a tax, but this is some elements of domestic policy that Moroccans get to do. Tunisians, Algerians, Mauritanian, Nigerians get to do in I believe in their own countries. So we can own, we can regulate, and at the same time be able to invite investors and also create the ecosystem of our local major companies. Because if we clean the room, it's I mean the economic room and the things that an industry need to grow is to be able one day to create, like the Korean are doing, to create their own superstars and major companies, so we can create our industry, so we can manufacture things, sell it in the market, make money, and then be able to talk and compete each other. And then we're going to build something strong. But for me, it's like to be honest, having 1 billion views or billion whatever on YouTube, whatever, it doesn't mean anything, in my opinion. I prefer the experiences of Spinlet or Iroko, stuff as African problems, African solutions, things that we can import.
We can own and control. Yes.
Because
funny enough,
that's the stuff. The same idea for years now, but that's the key.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to how much work you're putting into trying to advance this position and get the local industry. When I mean the local industry, Africa, as a creative space, to understand the importance of ownership, or they understand the importance of legacy, to understand the importance of growing. The balance of power, and when we talk about balance of power and actually soft power, how to effectively leverage it, there's probably no one with more interesting ideas, than Obi Asika, Obi and I. We're a bunch of, had different concerns, different fora. A few days ago on our Phoenix platform, Obi was reiterating, this exact idea of creating, then creating your industry the way you want it to function, and have, and make it competitive so you can invite people in to come to the table at your own terms. Obi, please, just we would like to come at this time and share your ideas about the emerging trends within, Africa, as Sultan Ahmed has just elucidated, and how you think we can effectively establish a balance of power as we grow, our outputs, push it towards the global audience.
Yeah, Efe, thanks a lot, man. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Just greetings to all the panelists. I'm in my car, unfortunately, so I didn't have the opportunity to have a laptop, but I heard what Ahmed was saying, and I totally agree. I think the thing is this, first things first, is that we're already in the fourth industrial revolution, and the digital platforms that are global platforms already dominate us in the continent. So what has happened is, we have enormous virality, and the platforms have given us an access we didn't have before. They've given us the ability to be global immediately. But what we need to do as Africans is to build more domestic platforms that we control and that we own. This is what the Chinese have done. This is what the Indians have done. That's what everybody has done. So we have to build our own domestic platforms, connect our own ecosystems, both domestically and across the continent, utilizing these vehicles like AFTCA, but also utilizing the Web 3.0. The actual fact, I love the fact that my man from Kenya was talking about, I think he's from Kenya, about NFTs. I just jumped into NFTs heavy, and I know everyone talked about this. We're going to bring the entire Nigerian creative community into the NFT space, because I think that really offers a really interesting way for us to be able to control the IP and build new worlds. If you really understand what's going on in the NFT space, some of these people that are driving change are utilizing that new system to actually raise capital, to bypass venture capital and go direct to the storytellers and the creators. And really, depending on what you do, you will begin to see that happening on a daily basis. In terms of our soft power, one of the things, just use this as an extrapolation, right? Nigerian soft power at a minimum level, Nigerian influencers and celebrities and musicians and talents have minimum 500 million followers on social media platforms worldwide. If you extrapolate that by a factor of 3, that's you're reaching billions of people straight away. That's a fact of life. If you now take the whole African continent and all the African talent has billions of global followers. What we do not have is we're not monetizing our followers. We don't have the ecosystem. We're not creating the goods, the merchandise, the cultural goods to actually put our products out there. So it's great having Wiz and David and Burner and all these guys, but they haven't toured in Nigeria. We don't have merchandise that they're selling. We don't have the product. So we have to get to product to come out of the IP that we're creating to create product and merchandise that we can sell and monetize, whether digital goods or physical goods. So the key for me is platforms, collaboration, and really all of us have to be disruptive, because at the end of the day, none of us that have been successful or have worked in these industries have ever waited for the government. So what we hope to see with government is to enable these sectors. I believe firmly that the future for Nigeria and for Africa is within the IP. That is our greatest resource, is our human talent. That's by far our greatest resource, the IP that we have. That's what I mean by soft power, is intellectual property, the things we create from the brain, whether it's literature, music, dance, arts, software, technology, architecture. These are the things that are going to own the future. Africa is blessed with enormous talent in that space. African governments need to invest in that, reform education, change the way we approach education, and that will give us the power to actually monetize our soft power. Because all the soft power in the world can't be fully expressed if you don't put the hard power in place. If you don't put basic things like power, infrastructure, that leads to distribution, right? So in Nigeria, for example, we have enormous soft power, but we have disconnected ecosystems. So Kano, Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Aba, Onitsha, these places that are productive places should be making the goods to back the soft power that is being built out of Lagos. So we have to connect our ecosystem. We have to focus on platform economies, and we have to understand what is coming, because what is coming is already here. What you hear, Facebook is talking about the metaverse. Anybody in the NFT world knows what this is about. Anybody who's a gamer knows what that's about. This is all about virtual reality, augmented reality, and African IP. I think Africans are probably creating 70% of the dances on TikTok. But with IP, you can own the dance and you can monetize the step. And these are the sort of things I think Agben is talking about. We have to be intelligent in how we navigate these platforms, and we have to build our own domestic platforms. So that's like an opening statement. I hope you heard me, man. Did you hear me? Or did you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, sorry. Yeah, so I mean that was spot on, and I'm sure that a lot of the participants on this platform are making the viewers at the moment, people who get to check this materials out later, would have agree with a lot of the positions that you've advanced in your presentation. Now, but I think the key thing, another key angle to all of this is really collaboration. Obviously, can't you remember a few days ago? Let me quote you that we have to bury our egos and learn to cooperate. If not, the behemoth, the foreign behemoth, the global interest, will come in and help us, bury our egos and basically take control of the market. Now, in terms of collaboration, Bright Okocha, aka Basket Pound, you have over the years, pushing 2 clear decades, being in the forefront of creating content, of opening doors, of blazing trail, but also beyond creativity, showing the power of collaboration. What do you think, in your opinion, the major challenges with creatives working together, and how can we overcome those challenges and get much better in the area of collaboration in terms of how we go about delivering our content and making impact, and more importantly earning money for the work that we do in the space?
Hey, first of all, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. My network is not too great, so please permit me just in case anything starts happening. In terms of collaborations, it starts with benefit sometimes. What am I going to benefit when I collaborate with this guy? And to a large extent, the social media space, is just recently that some brands have started engaging influencers and actors, comedians, musicians start pushing their brands, and some people don't collaborate because you know how the industry is. Everybody wants to go hustle for him or herself, and some people are in cliques. Like if you see the likes of Sydney Tucker and the rest of Black, I can't remember the names right now. Like they sometimes they collaborate, and most times when they do that, they're forced because of how large the reach is. The effect is even more felt. But in terms of skits, that's just one angle. In terms of music, in terms of movies, they've not started exploring all those things as they should, and that is one thing that I started doing. And my way of collaboration is not just, guy, come, let's create this together. It's not just that. Mine is, I look at people based on talent. Like if I created something in my head and I see that this guy can deliver the goods, I'll come and tell you. And definitely they want their own benefit. So the first step is to get the interest of an investor or a brand that will want to support that project. And when I get their interest, I now start collaborating with different talents based on their input and all that, and they'll get paid eventually. And it's just unfortunate that we do not have access to a lot of things in this country right now. We all know how crazy the economy is, so not many people have access to the right equipment. Like if you look at the quality, like sometimes they want to create props, they don't have access to that. They don't have the finances, and they don't have the brands willing to collaborate with them. And now let's take a look at if you look at the industry, you find out that Nigerians, they use a lot of Canons, and they use a lot of other brands as well. And one would think that maybe I don't know if they're doing it right now, but a brand, a company like that can collaborate if we had a structure, but we don't. we had a proper structure where they can come and say, okay, you know what, guys, we're giving you 50 cameras and 50 this and that, and space so you guys can come and edit and do all these things. But we still don't have access to these things. That's why most times you look at some content, the color is like this, and the sound is horrible, while the story is very rich, but the execution is just terrible. So, yes, sometimes collaboration doesn't really work out here because of that major.
For good and never.
People are really not making much money enough to want to say, okay, you know what, let's do these things together. But if they start using it in a way whereby I am creating a project and I like for us to come together and create it, and if we can go together and hustle and pitch for sponsorship, we can split these things, you know. That's what I do, and it works like magic, you know. When it comes to writing the script, I don't necessarily have to gain all the credit. If you look at with Ghana Jollof, the script writer, there are about like 5 of us. You know, I have to collaborate down to scripting, down to acting, down to everything, down to creative. And you just, you know, we bring everything together and just put everything on the table. And after everything, we break bread. You know, finally, yeah, one last one. For the creatives, when you create something, yeah, and you see that your character cannot carry it, don't force yourself into it. If you know that someone else can carry that character, someone else can drive that project, collaborate with that person, give it to the person. Don't force yourself into something that you're not. You understand? It's still your idea, you're still the one that created it, it's still gonna come to you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Basket House. What your position highlights, you know, if few issues around the culture of ownership in the industry. I have my personal experiences over the years. I've seen it in a lot of times where a young African, a young Nigerian who has a fantastic idea. It's just an idea, not a fantastic project, not a fantastic business, not a profitable business yet, just, you know, a great idea. I've seen scenarios where these ideas are executed in such a way that sometimes they become a burden because people are not looking for the right kind of strategic partnerships. So we have a situation where someone who is a great writer concentrates on doing his work as a writer, and, you know, somebody else who owns a production company, you know, because the production companies, studios that are lying idle with equipment, with space and all of that, and they're waiting for years for the talent to come and pay 100% of the rental fee to use the materials, right? So when the talent is in one spot and he cannot afford the rental fee, and the studio owner is in another spot and he cannot use, you know, the equipment on his own, there's gross underutilization across board. Sultan, this ideal that we're all propagating, Obi, I think you need to mute your audio. I think there's some noise still coming from your end. Okay, I think that's good. Yes. So, Sultan, within your space, yes, what is the culture with creatives and what is the culture within the creative space in terms of how people joining forces to create the right kind of project, to the right quality of technical excellence and funding that can effectively compete? How are people looking at building platforms, right? Together, one huge platform. For example, you mentioned, you know, Iroko, you mentioned Spinlet, you mentioned a few of these platforms. What do you think is the major challenge? Why are there 6 people building 6 small platforms when there could be 6 people building one major platform or 2 big competitive platforms that put put us in that space and be shoulder to shoulder, with everybody else.
Listen, in regarding to collaboration, for example, what Basketball was saying regarding collaborations, you got to understand that, for example, we in the North, we are looking at Nigeria as a model in terms of trying to bring on board brands, maybe some politicians, some NGOs and stuff. We are really looking at you as a model on that stuff, because we don't have the same size in terms of bringing on board founders, people who's going to fund something, some creative things, the branding, when you guys, the first time I saw a brand ambassador was the 1-8 campaign, if you remember, when Tubaba was part of RTL, part of the rebranding of all those countries in one step. So that was about, we are looking at you guys like that. So after that, so we decided to copy the system, so same stuff, but we realized that we got in our countries some stuff that, for example, we don't have yet in Nigeria. For example, I don't know how many ShopRites and retail stores you have, but in here we have lots. We have like 200s. In a country with 35, 38 million of people. So it means that you have a good retail stores and network.
Distribution, yeah. Distribution network.
This is what it means. But you have that, and at the same time, we have the same problems that the maturity that Nigeria can share with us. But the stuff is, because you don't have the same, the distributions, you develop something, the digital 100%. We are not in the same level of development in terms of the digital aspect of selling a product, a creative product in Morocco in comparison to Nigeria. That's the second stuff second comparison that you can make between Morocco and Nigeria, in North Africa in general. And something else, we don't have the maturity. I mean, the population in Morocco, average age is around 29, 30. In South Africa, it's 28, 30, stuff like that. In Tanzania or even Nigeria, it's like 17, 18. So the politicians got to be close to what the audience are listening and what they like, and so they can be in emphasis. They can be like in the same level of completion. That's where we have a big problem in North Africa. They have sometimes some politicians. Things are changing now. Some politicians start to understand now that it's our time to build our platforms locally, owning the catalogs. Because, for example, I don't know who is the publisher of African Queen, of Tubaba. I don't know who published it. Who is the publisher, Efe? Give me a scoop.
Publishing is co-owned from African Digital and Kennis Music Publishing.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow Nigeria want to make African Queen the national anthem, they can. But they can't, but Morocco or even Algeria, they cannot take, for example, Shab Khaled, a famous singer in North Africa, and take one of his famous songs as an anthem, because it is owned by Universal Music. So, so now things are changing.
I understand. I get that picture. I get that picture clearly.
Yes. So just to finish, the politicians are more aware now. They start to understand that it is our time to build our small local platforms, that they can prepare the scene for other African countries who wants to invest in our country, like Morocco coming to Nigeria, or Nigeria coming to Morocco, in terms of creative collaborations and make money with our own market.
Make money. Oh, cool. Thanks for that submission. Quickly, Rich, how can regulation be less of a stumbling block to the development of the African creative industry? Maybe let's use the word politics. Maybe
when it comes to regulation, number one, that's something that I have seen, especially with most African governments. There is no proper structure around supporting creative individuals, organizations, or endeavors. And this stunts the growth in a major way. Today, a creative cannot walk to a bank and get a loan based on his idea. He has to have collateral, which he might not have, but his idea might be worth millions. And banks are not willing to take a bet on such a thing. So when it comes to regulations, it needs to start with the governments and in conjunction with the financial players. And this can help alleviate a lot of problems, because through this partnership, creatives will have access to more resources, therefore giving them opportunity to try something, fail at it, because failure is a huge part of creativity, as well as giving them the chance to succeed where it matters. And that's what makes the big difference. When you look at an average film, to make an average film, you need thousands of people to bring it to life. From set designers, script writers, actors, extras. And these are all industries that, with proper regulation, can offer employment to a lot of people, therefore solving many of the government's problems around employing people. In Africa at the moment, majority of the population, as Ahmed said, are youth. And they are hungry. They are hungry for opportunity. They are smart, and they have access to the internet and digital resources. And that's what makes the new revolution, as Obi said. This is the fourth industrial revolution. We are literally at the point where, if I was to take it back, it's like we are at that point when the internet was starting. Only that this time, the internet is a digital universe called the metaverse. And all the things that we are going to create. First of all, it's good to see that artists are now empowered and they know that they need to own their content. Now, with ownership, to bring something to life, you also need to collaborate. And the collaboration does not just work within artist to artist. It can also be across organizations. One of the organizations that I've worked with is Canon for a long time. And this is a relationship that started back from when I was in university in second year. So I went up to them. I had ideas, but I did not have any access to cameras. So they would loan me their camera once in a while to go out, take pictures. And over the last 10 years, that relationship has now grown to the point where I am now reaping economic gains from it. So when it comes to collaboration, people need to think long term. I guess most people are hungry, and sometimes you can even call it greed. They want results now. But you need to understand the power of delayed gratification. That if you put in the work, if you collaborate, you will make it.
Thank you very much, Rich. Obi, very quickly, we're almost out of time, and I'd like to actually get in the box and take one or two questions from members of the audience. But Obi, quickly, how do you suggest that we address the infrastructure gap, the internet penetration, and the cost of data? Because all of this stuff, our focus is on technology and the internet and all of that. But with infrastructure gap, with high cost of data, with low internet penetration, it will still be elitist, it will still be a challenge. What are your quick ideas as to how, as a continent, as a country, we can address some of, these issues?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, I might have some ideas that are a bit controversial. First of all, in Nigeria, we're always complaining about data cost, but we have the cheapest data cost on the continent. So we have to be very careful when we're saying cost of data. Is that really the issue? Or are we creating a productive enough economy to give people enough buying power to do what they're supposed to do? So that's one thing. The second thing is when we talk about collaborations, our collaboration should not just be with each other. If you are WizKid and you collaborate with Warner Chappell Publishing to administer your publishing, that's a perfectly good deal to do, because you want to work with big partners who have scale, who have capacity. We should not be afraid of working with the big global brands. What we should be doing is make ourselves global brands so that when we have leverage. What we have lacked as Africans is leverage and capacity, right? And that comes from having patient capital and deep pockets. This has happened because Africans have not understood the value of the IP and the soft power and their stories. Whereas if you look at America, that everybody spent the last 50 years gazing at, America's built on the IP industries. California is principally Hollywood and Silicon Valley. It's the third or second biggest economy in the world, period. And that is 90% of what it drives. So Africans have to actually focus on our original strength and power, which is our narrative, our story, our ingenuity. From Imhotep till today, we have been paving the way for this whole entire world, but we have never told the story. We haven't told our own story, and we haven't pushed through what we're supposed to push through. And that is, I think, the most important thing. I don't think we should be defeatist or be playing victim. What we need to do is stride forward with confidence and knowledge and build ourselves based on what we have and what we can do. I hope that works. I hope that helps everybody. And I think that collaboration can happen in many different ways, but collaboration is most importantly about having the confidence to engage and not being afraid to engage.
Thanks, Obi. Thank you very much. We're totally out of time. Please, I'd like to the audience to hear you. I'm searching for. We'll take one or two questions from the audience. But before we do that, right. How do you advise, speaking to creatives now, right? How can creatives make the most of the opportunities presented by the digital revolution? Is this still here? Right.
I'm here.
Yes, your final thoughts. Yes, what do you advise?
So I heard the question, yeah. For every creative, whenever you create a content that is marketable, create a content that any brand, like if you're trying to create some a content that involves a guy and a girl, throw in a waiter that serves water, and that is how you sell that product. So try as much as possible to create things that brands will be interested in. And once that happens, first of all, you have the money to fund the project. And once you give the brand what they want, they'll continue using you. So first of all, whenever you're creating something, make sure it's not just the fact that, it's funny, people will like it. I'm going to have about like 2 million streams. You understand? All those things on Instagram and Facebook. And if on Facebook, it doesn't exceed 3-5 minutes, you're not making money from it. On Instagram, you're not making money from it. So where you make money from is from the brand. So whenever you're creating content and you want to make quick money, create something that the brands can be interested in. And you do not have to just put it out there. You can go to them and tell them that, look, I've created this. The trick is do one without the brand and do one with the brand. Try and sell it. If it doesn't sell, drop your stuff out and entertain people. And if they like it, they don't have to drop the other version. And do it like that, and I'm just giving you my trick. It's just to plug it in, and trust me, it works. If you're creating content just to entertain people, that works too. But how do you make your money? You understand? You make your money from plugging in brands.
Thank you very much. I'll take one question from the chat box before we quickly wrap. We're totally out of time, but so that the participants on the other side can at least get their thoughts across. Election tie up to everyone. If the create and own? How do we stop acquisition of local platforms by foreign platforms? Let's try FaceTime, for example. We can stop the real owner of platforms. We can't stop the real owners of the platforms not to sell. So I think that's more of a comment than a question. Let me wrap it up for here at this point. Thank you very much. Your quick in 1 minute, share your passing shots, your final thoughts about the theme that we discussed today, which is the power of Africa's creative industry in the digital era. One major takeaway you'd like everybody to pay attention to. We'll start from Rich. We'll do Ahmed Sultan, and we will go to the Africa, and we will wrap up with basketball. Quickly, in less than a minute, what are your final thoughts?
Well, so the first thing that I can say is, for the first time in ages, the playing field has finally been leveled, whereby as a creative industry, we are all playing in a digital space. So as long as you have good internet and you have great imagination, you can create content that can sell globally, and we should take advantage of that. Secondly, we should
thank you very much. Thank you.
Own the content. Yes, and collaborate. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. After 60 seconds, your final thoughts for everyone here. Your mic is on mute. I think you need to unmute your microphone. Thank you.
You already know what I'm going to say. Build, manufacture, own, be patient, and believe. That's all.
Thank you very much. Obi Asika, your final thoughts in 30 seconds.
Where's Obi?
Okay, basketball, while Obi is taking a sip of water.
Yeah, so I'd like you guys to be fearless, be brave, and try as much as possible to create things that will educate more than even entertain these guys, because you are the source of information. So while you're making them laugh, try as much as possible to throw some very positive information in your content. Let's try and spread this message, right? Yeah.
Thank you very much, right? Obi, are you there? Can we take your final thoughts in 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll hand you guys back over to the MC. But the key, to round up this entire session, the key takeouts are basically that it's here, it's now, the opportunities are abundant. PhDs and everybody within the value chain should make the most of it. There's a level playing field, the opportunities abound. Do the work, put in the work, collaborate, grow, the industry, and more importantly, pay attention to building, pay attention to owning, pay attention to controlling, and so we can have proper balance of power going forward. So we're not at the end of the day just creating content that we do not fully control long term. Thank you very much, everyone. From me here, it's bye for now.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you from AGC. Thank you, Efe. Thank you, Basket Mouth. Thank you, Ahmed Sultan. Thank you, Rich Alela. I must say, it's been a very incisive session. Africa should create content that is marketable, billions of dollars. We should also create, monetize our products. You should monetize even your dance and your steps. So many takeaways. Thank you, guys. We have come to the end of the day 2 of the 2021 Economic Congress. I look
and religion.
you all again. It's been such a riveting event so far. From our technology panel session, we've heard that it is a matter of urgency that Africa does not miss the 4th and 5th industrial revolution, and how we as Africans can have the urgency or the agency of technology infrastructure. Our creative industry veterans have also mentioned a number of strategic ways Africa is positioning and can even better have music, film, and digital art as a force to reckon with in the global market. Our opportunities are limitless, and as we've heard, our capacity also fully up to the task. Tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., we'll be having the agriculture session, women